Yeah, sounds great. Sue, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today.
Of course.
So let's begin before we get into your life as being a podcast host, a coach, an author, all the good work you're doing. I want to begin with this. 5 years ago, this pandemic was raging. So many things were thrown into the unknown. How did you make it through the global pandemic of 2020, and how has it affected the way that you live life in 2025?
Wow, great question. I think it was definitely a challenge. I think all of us were trying to figure out what does this mean? How long is this going to last? I remember thinking, oh, I think they said something like it's only going to be 2 weeks. And then, of course, 2 weeks turned into a lot longer. And I remember talking to my coach, and she said, you have to get yourself through this because you have to be strong for your clients and for your family. And I think that was really good advice because you can stay stuck in this place of, I don't know, sadness and all the things that were happening. It was very difficult to witness it every day. But I did try to think about how can we come together, right? Be together as a community, as a family. All my kids came home from college, so we were all back together again. And so I think we all had an opportunity to build some community and communication and share with each other what we were experiencing. And that definitely helped me and has continued to help me, through every other challenge that we've encountered along the way.
So, if we were to condense all of the work that you do into something for 12-year-olds, it's career day. The kid in the back of the room is like, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you do that?
So I help people learn about themselves, get excited about what they have to offer, and then be able to talk about it to other people so they can get a promotion at work, get a new job, be excited about their life. I think a lot of people tend to dismiss and devalue the things that they're really good at. And so when they don't know those things or can't talk about them, it makes it harder for them to get in front of the people who can see them for promotions.
So, what did you want to be when you were 12 years old? You were at a career day. What was that dream job for you?
Way back then, I wanted to be a teacher and teach people. I really admired, like my first grade, my third grade teachers. They were a lot of fun. And I thought this would be great, right? Get to teach all day, read books. I love to read, still do. And just seemed like a great job.
So, talk to me a little bit about some of the foundational building blocks that have led to where you're at as far as business, writing, podcasting, all of these things that have become who you are. Take me back to where you were born and raised and the seeds that were planted that have evolved into who you are.
I mean, it really started with my mom, quite honestly. She worked at General Foods, and so she would take us to work and we get to experience her workplace and what she was doing. And, that was when, after deciding maybe teaching wasn't where I wanted to go, business was the next option. And so I really wanted to follow in her footprints and get to do what she did. She would travel all over the country and, wear the business suits and all the fun things that seemed like fun at the time and as a youngster in high school and all of that. And then I just found that I loved business. I loved learning about it, but I also had a knack for systems, which I didn't know. That's my degrees are management and marketing, not IT. And I found I had a really good understanding of how logic worked and how things connected together between systems. And so I got to leverage that a lot. So through my career at Kraft, I started in sales, which leveraged some of my marketing, and then I moved into supply chain and food service and then IT. And through all of those, leadership was kind of the thread that worked all the way through those. So no matter what role I went into, whether I knew the content or not, I was able to lean on all of the leadership skills that I had learned and the relationships that I had built along the way and just felt very comfortable asking questions. I wasn't afraid to do that. But somewhere along the way, I ran into some challenges with imposter syndrome. And when that happened, it kind of pushed me into the background. And that wasn't something I was familiar with, didn't know how to deal with it. So I had to figure out how to learn to be visible because I'd gotten some feedback that I wasn't doing enough of that. And when I got that feedback, it was quite difficult to hear. I was 3 minutes before that a top talent. Now I'm somebody who doesn't know if she has a career anymore. And so when you hear that kind of feedback, you have a choice. You can either accept it and do something with it, or you can kind of play the victim and say, this isn't fair, this isn't happening to me, you don't see me the way that I see myself. And I chose to do something with it and figure out how to be visible in a way that was authentic to me. Then I taught my team. Now I teach clients. And that led to me writing the book, The Visibility Factor, the podcast. And now I have a new book coming out in October called Your Journey to Visibility, which is a workbook.
So, talk to me a little bit about the visibility factor. What made you decide? Because writing a book is a massive endeavor. What made you decide to impart your wisdom to help people get to a better place? Kind of give me an idea of what it's all about.
Sure. So when I went through that feedback that I wasn't being visible, all I could think about was I don't want to brag. And that's all I could see at the time was somebody who bragged, and that just wasn't my style. So I met with a business mentor who said, Sue, you have a lot to offer. You were hired for a reason. You have to talk about the things that people need to hear from you so that they can make decisions. They can't make them because they aren't in all the details and you are, and you're hurting your team by not being visible. So it was a really good wake-up call. And I thought about the book when I left Kraft and started my own business. I thought, I really want to write a book that I can help other people not have to go through that challenge that I went through. And when I went through that, it was a little pre-internet that we have of today, so you can just look up anywhere I went to find book that would help me. And there was only one book I found, but it wasn't exactly what I needed. And so I thought, I can write a book. I write a blog every day. Sure, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I met some wonderful people, and that really got me going to create a book that has tons and tons of ideas of how to be visible. You get to pick based on your strengths what you want to do, where you are in your career. I have a four-part process in the book called Rise that helps people build their own visibility plan, and just tons of my own stories. First of all, I'm very vulnerable in there. If you want to know anything about Sue Barber, you can read the book. But also a lot of client stories and experiences and helping them walk through it. And the last chapter even has some personal stories about my family.
So, talk to me a little bit about inspirations, role models, heroes. Who has been that for you in your life?
Definitely my mom first. But since then, the thing that I really wanted to think about when I was writing this book is who did I admire? Who did I want to read it? And so a lot of the people that I've coached and leaders in my life who have inspired me to do better, to do more. But the book was really based on a lot of things I learned from Brene Brown in so many ways, just how she really embraced vulnerability, wasn't afraid to say things. And one of the things I told my book editor was I would really love it if people would compare it to Brene Brown's Dare to Lead. And that is what one of the trade reviewers said. So we were all thrilled to see that that's what it was being compared to, because it's very different than her book, of course, but the feel of it, the vulnerability of it was what I was going for. So I was glad that they could see that.
So, what's been your approach for balance and motivation every day to wake up to do this work? Because you got to take care of yourself, you're helping others, you have business that you need to get done. How do you balance and get yourself up every day to do it at the best possible ability?
Well, over the last 2, 3 years, I have limited when I start work in the morning. So I don't usually start till 10 or 11 in terms of having coaching meetings or discussions with clients. I use that time to write. I use that time to work out. I use that time to, say hi to the kids and the family pets and all of that kind of stuff. I just feel like it sets me up in a better way than getting up and running into meetings right away. I just feel like it gives me a better, I don't know, coming into it in a better way and more calm and composed, and I've already done a lot of things already by that time. So I'm ready to start the day, and I literally love what I do every day. I don't ever see me stopping anytime soon until maybe I can't talk or can't walk. I think it's so amazingly wonderful to get to be with someone as they're going through their challenges of loss of confidence. They've lost belief in themselves. They don't know how to go forward. They're stuck. And helping guide them through that is a real gift that I get to be a part of. And I just can't imagine doing anything else, to be honest.
So, if you could go back in time, if you could, or let's say you had a dream tonight, you ran into the 18-year-old version of you, ready to go out into the world, charge in there and do it, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've gained, what advice would you give?
Stop trying to be perfect. Back then, I was all in and comparison and worrying about being validated by other people, that I was doing the right things. And since I've become a coach, I'm my own boss. I get to make my own decisions. And I realized how much I was carrying that perfectionism and external validation into corporate, and I had it for a really long time. And now here I get to take imperfect action every day. And so I think to me, it's a gift to know that you can do that and you're going to make mistakes, but you're going to learn from them. And there is no perfection for anybody. It's just an illusion. It would have helped me let go of a lot of things I was holding on to for a really long time.
So let's say you walk into a room of everybody that you've worked with, colleagues, clients, everyone that knows you in a business sense, and you go up to a podium and you can tell them one fun story. The first concert you went to, an amazing place you traveled to, jumping out of an airplane, some really cool like story that would humanize you in a different way. What would you tell that room? Yeah.
Most people are surprised to if they know me at all. They're surprised to know that I bungee jumped in Singapore.
Okay.
That is not something that you would have expected me to do. A mom with three kids who were pretty young at the time. And I went with some colleagues to Singapore for a work meeting, and we had gone to dinner, and we went afterwards, and we're walking around, and one of the guys that worked for me said, "Oh my God, they have a bungee jump, Sue. We have to do it." And I said, "Oh, I don't know about this." But he said, "I'll do it if you do it." So we signed our little release forms. We gave all the things that we had to another colleague that was there. And we got in there, and I remember I said, "You're going to have to hold my hand for this moment, I think." But it was so cool because it was at night, and we got to see all the city lights and
Wow.
the buildings, and it was really incredible. So I'm so glad I said yes. But I wrote about it in the book, and a lot of people are like, "What? You did
Yeah.
what?" So yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's cool. So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've done, accomplished, and evolved to at this point, what are you the proudest of?
Wow, there's so many things that I've done since I left corporate. I think, just making the decision to go into business was a good decision for me. At the time I was not sure, I wanted to at one point be a psychologist, of course, wanted to be a teacher, but now if I look back on my life, I've made that decision around business and it's helped me so much in so many ways because now I'm coaching people in business and a lot of people come to me as a coach because I have that corporate big business experience and a lot of coaches don't come from an IT background, so I think sometimes it's very helpful to have somebody who understands that side of the world, how to work in IT, how to work in engineering. I get a lot of people from that because they know that I understand their day to day and I understand what they're going through. And I think it's helped me so much. So to me, I've brought all the things back together that I wanted to do. Psychology, teaching, business has all come together for me in coaching. And writing the book, I think, is really a proud moment. It took me a lot longer to write it than I thought I ever would spend time writing a book. But I needed to let go of all of this corporate armor I was still holding on to, all those stories I was afraid to share. And now that I've shared them, it's helped so many people relate to my story, their story, and bring them to a place of possibilities that they can do something different because I did.
So, in all of these different incarnations of who you are as a professional and obviously who you are as a person, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, everyone that you coach, everyone that gets your book, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Wow, that's a great question. I think I am a vulnerable girl who has a ton of ideas and possibilities. I really operate from that place, and I didn't believe I was creative for a long time. But now I get to be creative every day and I love it. I think it's such a fun place to be. So I think most people would see me as very put together, perfect in many ways. But that is just, I like to be me. I like to be authentic. I like to be fun. I like to be creative. And I get to do that every day because I get to decide what I do every day.
So if anybody wants to pick up a copy of The Visibility Factor, they have questions for you, they want to hire you, your next book, if there's a waiting list or however that works, where's the best place for them to go to figure all this out?
Sure. You can go to my website, Susan M. with an like in Mary, barber.com. And I'm on LinkedIn, so you can certainly connect with me there. The book is available online anywhere you buy books. It also comes in ebook and audiobook. It's me actually reading the book, which I thought was fun to do.
Yeah.
And the new book will come out in October, so you'll be able to find that online as well.
Okay, excellent. This has been wonderful, Susan. Thank you so much for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck. I
Thanks for
appreciate it.
having me. Yeah, I loved it. Thank you so
Looking
much.
to get new clients to your business through cold calling or email marketing? At Agency Y, they envision a world in which small and big companies have equal chances to win new customers in the market. Their purpose is to bring parity and reduce the gap between large and small firms with the help of their cold calling and cold email marketing services. Use the code Joe Dimino 10 at www.agencyyyy.org/coldcallingjoe.php or www.agencyyyy.org/emailmarketingjoe.php to get 10% off your first order. This is Joe Dimino of Neon Jazz and Famous Interviews, and I stand behind Agency Y to meet your business dreams.